Hello and welcome to the Spirit Spa, an online sanctuary dedicated to supporting you if you're in the early stages of recovering from a nervous breakdown, helping you to identify why the breakdown has happened to you and to work out your next natural steps towards recovery. I'm Karen Packwood, and in today's Message from the Wilderness, I'm going to be focusing on the question, how long does it take to recover? How long does it take to recover? Now, this question was asked to me in one of the comments under my last video. So if you want to actually watch the last video that prompted that question, because I do talk about recovery in that, the link is below this video. But this video is primarily talking about how long does it take to recover. And the reason that was prompted was because that in my last video, I talked about how 2 years after my initial breakdown, I actually went and did some humanitarian work in Bosnia. And of course, that sounds very much like it's somebody who's actually kind of reached full recovery, doesn't it? But I want to kind of dispel that myth, because that's not how the journey of recovery from a nervous breakdown works. The reality is that the journey of recovery from a nervous breakdown takes a very long time. And the question that the person asked me in the comments was something along the lines of, how long did it take me before I felt recovered? What I have to say about that is that actually it was a very long time. It wasn't 2 years. It's about 15 years ago since I had my breakdown, and I would honestly say that it's probably only in the last 6 months that I feel kind of 90% recovered. I don't feel fully recovered, and I'm going to explain why in this video. But I want to explain why there's that kind of confusion, if you like. On the one hand, 2 years after my breakdown, I was able to go and do some work in Bosnia, but I'm saying that I didn't actually feel fully recovered until this last few months. Well, this is why. If you remember the video where I talk about the sensation of having nervous breakdown is a bit like being a porcelain doll, and it's where you've been hammered to pieces, and you're in shards, you're in bits and pieces all over the place. And I'll put the link to that video in the comments if you haven't seen it. But so just a quick recap, that I talked about the sensation of nervous breakdown being as if you've been a porcelain doll that's been hammered and you are literally in shards all over the place. And when a porcelain doll shatters, some parts of it are tiny dust, then there might be some quite large clumps, and then there might be all sorts of different sizes and shapes of clumps in between. And I also talked about what a long procedure it is if you wanted to put that porcelain doll back together again. It's a very long process. You have to find all the pieces, you have to match them up. It's a very long process. It's exactly the same for the recovery period of a nervous breakdown. So the part of me that went to do the humanitarian work was just one clump of that broken porcelain doll that I was at that moment in time. It was probably a larger part of the clump that wasn't quite so wounded by the breakdown. So that part of me was able to go and do that particular piece of work. But there were all the other parts of me that weren't okay still. And for those other parts, maybe some tiny dust particles of me, it's taken me years to find my way to recovery from them. I've talked very openly in my in my videos about the financial difficulties that I got into as a result of my breakdown. That's taken me years. It's taken me years to get through all of the hurdles of facing up to all my fears, my anxieties, my terror, my depression, the inner work. I had a lot of outer work going on there, debt collecting agencies and all sorts of horrific things were going on externally in relation to that healing journey with finances. But I had to do the inner work too, and that has been an incredibly difficult process for me. And that's taken me a long time. That didn't happen within 2 years. That's taken me, and it's an ongoing journey. It's still, I still do not, I said 80 to 90% recovered, and I would say that financial of the process, you know, is in that final 10%. I'm not where I want to be financially, both in terms of my confidence around finances and my actual finances. And you know, I have no problem saying that, because I know that this is a healing journey for me. You know, and I think it's very important to talk about all of the aspects, the impact that the nervous breakdown has on you, to be very open about it with the right people and people that you can trust, so you can begin the healing journey. So the healing journey takes different times for different parts of you, and it's about giving yourself permission to believe that. I truly believe that recovering from a nervous breakdown is a lifelong journey. And that's not a depressing thing, because actually what happens is the more work that you do with your breakdown, remember, I truly believe that your breakdown is a friend. It's come into your life to stop you from doing things that weren't right for you, from doing things that weren't keeping you well and happy, weren't allowing you to flourish to the best of your ability. I really believe that that's why a nervous breakdown comes into somebody's life. And so it's this journey with your breakdown that becomes a very nourishing experience, and you learn how to work with the difficult aspects of it. And each time, and you know, and it's like a step, you go forward and then you come back, you go forward and then you come back with it. So don't be downhearted. You know, if you listen to my video and you think, gosh, you know, 2 years on, she was, you know, traveling around the world. Yeah, there was that part of me that was able to do that. But when I came back, I still had to face the part of me that was, like, you know, very depressed, the part of me that didn't really have a job. You know, that work was voluntary work. It was for a charity. You know, I didn't have a job that was bringing me in an income, and I had to deal with that side of things. You know, I still had my self-esteem issues going on. You know, I still didn't necessarily feel, you know, as physically fit as I wanted to. You know, many things were not right in my life still, were not healed, were not recovered. And you know, I came back and just, you know, just gonna let that plane go over. You know, so there were many things that weren't right, and literally it's this journey that I've been on for 15 years to, you know, find out who I am. Who do I need to be now? What do I need to do in order to feel happy and well? And it's a constant asking that question. If I was to love myself today, what would I do? A constant listening in to the inner healer, the inner wisdom. Which part of that porcelain doll are we going to be working on now? And you'll find that different things come up at different times for you to actually work on. So don't be disheartened when you think, gosh, you know, Karen looks really well in her video. Karen talks about how she went off, you know, 2 years later and you know, did some traveling and you know, did that humanitarian work. That was all part of my healing. I needed to do that to help build my confidence and help build my self-esteem. You'll find your things, your inner wisdom, your inner guidance will help you, will tell you what do you need to do to build up your confidence again, to build up your self-esteem, to build up your physical well-being, to build up your mental well-being, your emotional well-being. Your nervous breakdown will help you do that. It does take time, and you must give yourself permission to accept that this is a lifelong journey, and it becomes good. It's horrible at the beginning. I know that. It's terrifying. It's traumatic. It feels like it's never ending. You know, you feel, you know, so desperate. Be patient with that desperation. It's so easy to be judgmental about it. It's so easy to give it a hard time. It's so easy to beat yourself up for feeling like that. But it's there to protect you, because you're not necessarily ready to go on to the next stage of your healing. It's not there to punish you. It's not there to hold you back. It's not there to be detrimental to you in any way. It's there to look after you, because something in you isn't quite ready. All of these different pieces, you know, are waiting for their right time to come forward, to say, oh, I'm ready now to do a little bit of healing. I think I would now like to do this to help us feel a little bit better. I'm now ready to do this to help us feel a little better. But us, I mean all the bits of the porcelain doll. So And it's really easy, isn't it, to be calm. Sorry, a few planes going over. It's so easy to become so down on ourselves and so harsh with ourselves. I think one of the things that people who have had a nervous breakdown are very good at doing is being incredibly harsh on ourselves, beating ourselves up for being in this place where we feel so desperate, and then beating up on the feelings as well. It's really important to find some love for those difficult feelings. They don't hate you, they're part of you. And when you're tough on them, then you're being really tough on yourself. And that's actually very detrimental to your healing. That's actually that tends to hold you back and slow you down, because not only do you already feel terrible, you actually then tell yourself off for feeling terrible too. So why not? I always like to give you like a journaling activity. Why not have why not use that as your journaling activity? Why not think about, how you're beating up on yourself? You've got these difficult emotions that you're feeling exasperated by, you're desperate, you're a sense of, is this ever going to get better? Just list those feelings. Is it despair? Is it hurt? Is it, terror? What anguish? What are the emotions that you're feeling? Write them down, and then ask yourself, God, how do I give these feelings a hard time? How do I beat up on these feelings? Really, think about that very carefully, because it's quite a transformative stage when you can begin to think, actually, I've got to start treating these feelings with respect. I've got to try and love them and nurture them, and they will all have answers for you. You can ask them, what's your advice for me for my next step forward for healing? Learn to work with these difficult emotions, not to bury them, not to give them a hard time, not to hate them. They're not your enemy. They are there to help you, to support you, to love you, to guide you, and to protect you until you are ready for the next stage of healing. And remember, different parts of you are going to heal at different times, in different ways, at different stages, in a different pace. So that's my kind of my answer about recovery and how how long recovery takes. If that's prompted any more questions from you, please put them in the comments box or email me at karenpackwood@gmail.com, and I'll be really happy to keep delving into this question about recovery, because it's your one question, isn't it? When am I going to feel better? How am I going to make that happen? It's like the most desperate question that's at the basis of your healing journey. Ask me as many questions as you want to about that, and I will keep creating videos. Somebody else has asked me about the video that I've done where I talk about the stages of healing, and so I just want you to know that I've got that on my list to do. So that video will be coming about a little bit more information about the stages of healing. So any questions, please don't hesitate to ask Karen at karenpackwood@gmail.com. And I have some, in the comments, somebody mentioned also about the fact about an online course. And that triggered off a little idea in me about something that I could do that could be like a little bit of an online course to help people. So I'm just getting that all sorted, and I'm going to be sharing that in my next few videos. So I'm sending you so much love. Stay strong, stay trusting. Remember, recovery is possible. And at the moment that you are this beautiful porcelain doll that is, shattered into all of these pieces, but you are on the journey of putting the pieces back together again, and you will be able to find your way back to a flourishing life. So I'm sending you so much love, wishing you a very peaceful and loving day.